Hello, and welcome to the 2012 League of Women Voters Election Forum. I'm the moderator, Murray Farber, a former newspaper and TV news editor. We're pleased that the candidates have joined us so that you can learn where they stand on the issues to be decided through them starting November 6th. The League of Women Voters does not support nor oppose the candidate or political party. Before I introduce the candidates, I will explain our format. We will give each candidate a minute to tell you about themselves and an opening statement. Then we will get to the questions for 1-minute answers with 30-second rebuttals where appropriate. The order in which they speak was determined earlier. They were not given any peeks at the questions in advance. At closing, the candidates will offer a 1-minute statement. So here we go. The candidates with us today are Carol Mills, Nicholas Montoya, and Andy Doris. So let's begin. Carol, tell us about yourself and why you're the best candidate.
I've had the pleasure of representing the Fresno High area for the past few years. When I was first elected, the district was facing a state takeover. Since then, I have worked hard to increase the graduation rate and to improve academic achievement, such that Fresno High now has a nearly 77% graduation rate, and academic achievement in the district has increased for the past 7 years. Families have also been provided a choice in the area with the International Baccalaureate program at Cooper and Fresno High, but we've also increased vocational education, which is at Fort Miller and Fresno High. I'd like to continue to make these improvements and to see the facility improvements that we have started with the Measure Q money come to fruition. And I think that the voters want to have a district continue to improve and not return to the state that it was several years ago.
Nicholas, why don't you tell us why you're the better candidate for the Fresno Unified School District?
Well, first let me introduce myself. My name is Nicholas Montoya. I am a father of 2 young boys, both under the age of 2, which keeps me busy. I'm a caseworker. Since moving back to this community, I've done nothing but fight to make this community a better place to live in for all of us. I regularly, at least once a week, call on graffiti to get graffiti cleaned up. I've fought the city to have gutters fixed on our street so that the water flows and doesn't flood in our street. And if elected, I will fight for our children. I will be the voice that stands up for our children. Right now, our budget does not reflect our children as the #1 priority. And if I am elected, I will make sure that that happens. I will make sure that our children will have music classes, art classes, and shop classes that they deserve. I am a fighter for our children, and I will be that voice for them.
So, Andy, why are you the better candidate for the Fresno Unified School District?
My name's Andy Doris, and I have 2 young children in the district. I've been married for 15 years, and I just don't like what I see with the Board of Trustees and the leadership, with the superintendent. I feel that the district is going in the wrong direction. There needs to be a sense of transparency and openness that is severely lacking in our district. I don't think that the teachers, the parents, and especially the children are being served the way they should by this district. We're the 4th largest district in the state. I think that the district should have a leadership role in how things are run in the state, and they don't. I would bring a sense of purpose to teaching our kids first and foremost in our district and put them above all else.
We know there are lots of challenges, but to find out where we're going, Nicholas, why don't you tell us about what you see as the 2 main challenges and how you would cope with them?
2 main challenges that I see, again, starting off is going back to the budget. I see a superintendent who is getting paid over $300,000. As a parent, I feel that that money belongs to our children. I feel that by enhancing salaries of some of our administrators, we are cutting our children out. I feel that right now our children almost need a union so that they could have their voices heard, so that they could be made a priority in the current budget. So one thing that I see an issue is that there is budget problems. The other issue that I see right now is that our children are having problems and we're not checking in with them. Our children are being molested, our children are being beat, our children are being mentally abused, and we're not asking them what's going on. We need to be checking in with our children to see what is happening to them so that they're not falling through the cracks. When kids are having behavior problems, a lot of times that's because there's other issues going on, and we need to be checking in on them.
Andy, what do you see as the top two?
Well, I think that there's a tremendous problem with the dropout rate at Fresno High. Half the kids that start at Fresno High do not graduate from Fresno High. There's an out-of-control truancy rate at Fresno High at 66% of kids at Fresno High are habitual truants. And these are statistics that are from the own school's attendance office. I think that what we can do to address those issues is the kids that are not high academic performers and are not engaged in other activities on the school grounds need to have career technical education implemented at a very high level. Duncan Polytechnic has the highest graduation rate in the district at 97%. As well, we need to have early intervention with families through the SARD program to address the truancy issues and get the families on track to get their kids to school on time every day so that they can be on track to graduate.
Thank you. Carol?
Well, I would say academic achievement and graduation rate are two priorities and two challenges. But Fresno High's graduation rate has come up steadily over the past few years, and according to the California Department of Education, it was at 76.6% to be exact in 2011. The academic achievement has also increased at Fresno High and in the schools in the area. Fresno High posted an 11-point API test score gain just in this last year. The truancy and dropouts have gone down significantly. Again, California Department of Education tracks this information, and truancy is at 31% in the Fresno High area, and that truancy, so that folks know, is a student who is tardy or absent for 3 days during the school year unexcused. I think the district has focused on those. I have focused on those types of things, and we're continuing to improve on the graduation. We're continuing to improve on test scores. We are continuing to improve by reducing dropouts and truancy.
Propositions 30 and 38 both propose to increase funding for schools. 30 has been endorsed by the California Teachers Association, 38 by the California Parents Association. Which proposition do you support, if either, and why? Andy, want to start us off?
Well, I get back to the issue of transparency within the district and its financial dealings with the budget that it has now, which is $1 billion budget. I think that we need to know as taxpayers, as parents, and as teachers what exactly is happening with every dollar that goes into the district and where it ends up. In the current atmosphere at Fresno Unified School District under the leadership of Michael Hansen, that sadly is not the case. The trustees cannot get the information that they ask for, and that, and the parents and taxpayers can't get it either. It's a sad state of affairs and it needs to change.
Carol?
Well, Proposition 30 and 38, the school board did have a conversation on those, and the board voted to support, on a split vote, Proposition 30. And I was one of those voting to support Proposition 30. The reason is that Fresno Unified will stand to gain an additional $17 million that we can put to programs and our students if Prop 30 passes. If it does not pass, then we stand to have $11 million in cuts. I'm not supporting Prop 38 because I believe that the voters are not going to pass 2 tax measures, and also because Prop 38 is taxing across the spectrum of incomes instead of just the upper income.
Nicholas?
I've actually already voted for Proposition 30. I am in favor of it for a few reasons. One, it does say that the money can't go towards administrators, which it's nice to see that they write that in and realize that our children should be coming first. The second thing is that it allows for money to go to early development. And right now, you know, as a psychologist, psychology major, you know, one of the things that we learned about is that the first 5 years are the most crucial years of a child's development. We need to be using that money to going to funding, you know, education around children of a young age. The sooner that we could get these children, you know, caught up, and the sooner that we could invest in them, the better that we're going to be as a society. You know, right now too, one of the problems that faces us is that we have a lot of bilingual children that are just falling behind, that Spanish is their first language. If we could start and invest in teaching them, you know, English at an early, you know, at an early age, it's going to be a lot easier for them to develop and grow into our society as opposed to falling out of it.
I hear conflict here. Is there a need for rebuttal? Andy, Nicholas, Carol, Andy?
Well, I wanted to go back to not the question we just had, but the one before about the truancy and dropout rates and the test scores. And I have the SARB attendance report from Fresno High. There's 1,500 kids on this list here, freshman through senior. This list doesn't even start counting unexcused absences until 25. Habitual truancy is 6 to 9 unexcused absences. This starts counting the students at 25 unexcused absences. There's kids on here with over 100 and 150 unexcused absences.
Carol, Nicholas?
I haven't seen the documentation that Mr. Doris is looking at. I stand by the records that the Department of Education examines and receives and posts, and they post that information on their website. I have all of that data and the links to those particular points on their Department of Education website. If anyone wants to email me or contact me, I'd be happy to provide that to them.
If we're giving
Well,
this,
let's give Nicholas a chance.
Thank you. I don't want to just look at numbers, though. I want to look at why our children are falling out. Again, it goes back to us asking what's going on with our children. We need to be checking in with our children on a bi-monthly basis at the very least to make sure that they're not being physically or mentally or sexually abused. There are issues for why they are falling out, for why it takes so many days for them to, you know, start counting them, you know, as absentees. If a child isn't coming to school, it's not because they don't like school, or if that is, you know, some do, but that's also because we're not engaging them enough. But we need to find out, why are these children not coming? There's other issues going on, and we're not doing enough to check in on them.
Thank you. I think parents are very interested in issues involving teaching, so I'd like to move into that area. We know effective teaching is needed in order to educate our children. In every classroom, we have to look to the teacher, and the question gets back to evaluations. We evaluate them through standardized tests. We evaluate teachers through classroom observations. Are there anything else that we should be adding to these procedures? Are there other factors that we should bring in? Should we consider evaluations done by outside professionals? Carol, start us off talking about teacher evaluation.
Well, I think teacher evaluation is a topic of conversation in the district and certainly at the board level as well. I think there need to be multiple factors that go into an evaluation. You mentioned test scores, Murray, but I don't think that it's just purely the test scores. I think what we look for is whether or not the students are progressing in their academic achievement. We know that the students who come through the doors of our school have a wide variety of backgrounds and challenges. Some are English learners, some are coming from homes where the family may not be very literate, and we're just looking for steady, improved academic achievement. We are looking for teachers who are focused on the needs of the students. I don't know whether it would be worthwhile to have an outside entity evaluate teachers. I think that we need to as we have in the district, spend money on professional development for our district site leadership so that they can do a good job evaluating teachers.
Nicholas?
The more information that we gain about the teacher, the better. I think that there are both good and bad teachers. I almost want to become a teacher. I was volunteering, I guess more or less, through a program in college in a high school, and one of the teachers who had tenure literally went to sleep under the desk, and he told me not to worry about it because he has tenure. Now, I think that that is absolutely ridiculous, but with that being said, there are also great teachers that save children's lives every single day, and so to just base it off of a test score here or there, I don't think that that's enough. I think that there has to be a wide range of things, but I think that we need to start looking into that, looking into what other teachers, how they, look at other teachers, about how each individual grows, from when they first start in that classroom to where they end at, as well as, how the children feel about them. What are the children? Do they feel that they're learning? Do they feel like they're advancing?
Maybe?
I think that the current form of standardized testing has really gutted our teachers' ability to educate our children. They're under so much pressure on a daily basis. They're on a time clock to teach to this standardized test, which is an artificial measurement of the child's development. The needs of the students are not being met. There's no time for a teacher to connect with a student and make some relationship with them, to give them a sense of feeling on the campus that they go to. It's under the clock all day from start to finish. There's no time for art, there's no time for music, there's no time to go out at recess and run around and develop relationships for the kids amongst themselves. To go into a lunchroom on a campus today, which I've done, and to see how these kids are herded in and out of the lunchroom, not even having time to eat their meal, is really telling to what our school system has become.
Let's move into another area that people have been talking about quite a bit, graduation rates.
Well, I'm sorry, can I just,
Sure.
in regards to looking at teacher evaluation, I think that we do that in regards to their salaries. That's one of the big things. And right now we have elementary school teachers that are getting paid $80,000. And I don't feel that that's right. I feel that that's taking money away from our children. I feel that that's taking resources out of other teachers' classrooms so that they could have more resources to help their children advance. I mean, again, our budgets need to reflect our children first and foremost, and right now we're not doing that.
Carol?
Well, I wanted to respond to a comment from Mr. Doris. Music and arts were restored after I got onto the board. An International Baccalaureate is a program that incorporates music and art into the curriculum. And so that's a positive for the Fresno High area. And we also try to increase the offerings for music and arts, but sometimes that does take a longer school day, and that requires approval from FTA and the teachers. We don't always get that approval.
Well, I think that there's a tendency to have too much focus on the high academic achievers and kids that are in specialized academic programs. The IB program is a terrific program, but not every kid can function as function in the school setting in the IB program. So the kids that don't get in there are left behind. And that's why we need more art and programs for these kids, the career technical education for the kids that are the lower academic achievers on our campuses.
Let me pick up then on graduation rates. Let's move on to that. Let me start out by pointing out that the graduation task force has talked about the need for community organizations to be working closely with students, families, the school board. In what ways would you be working with the district administration to promote this stronger partnership with the community? What's your feeling about that, Nicholas?
The more community involvement, the better off we're going to be. But with that being said, again, we could have all the brilliant ideas in the world, and if we don't have the budget for it, it doesn't matter. These programs, a lot of them, a lot of it comes from, good time and good volunteer time from, parents of such, However, though, a lot of it needs money. And if we, again, I hate beating the dead horse, but it's like if we don't make a budget based around our children, we're not going to be able to implement these programs, and we're just going to continue to grow at a small rate of graduation, and we're going to continue to have children fall behind. And right now, unfortunately, the ones that are falling behind are the low income, the ones that are having challenges at home, and those are the ones that we need to reach out to more. Our community involvement is part of it, but again, it's based around us providing a budget so that we can work with them as well.
Andy?
Can you tee that question up again?
Well, I was talking about the need for cooperation between school, students, parents, and the concern that there's a need to deal more closely with organizations in the community. And there are some organizations that have complained about this need for more contact. And so my question is, how would you, if you're a member of the board, be working with the various constituents involved here?
Well, I think that there are a lot of fine community-based organizations that are willing to step forward and help the district connect with the homes of children that may be English learners. But beyond that, I think that there are a lot of business organizations that would love to be involved in the education of our children so that we can develop career-ready individuals that are not willing to go to college. Those companies and industries would love to be involved in the educational process and give these kids a foothold in our society so that they can go out and be able to get a job, build a life for themselves and their families, and move forward towards the American dream. I think we're severely lacking in that. It's a lot of work to get out there and open yourself up to the CBOs and different ideas that they may have, but it needs to be taken care of.
Carol?
The district has struggled in the past with working with community groups, but the task forces that we've put together recently in the district, including the graduation task force, were an effort to bring community groups into the conversation and to help Fresno Unified address the needs of the students. And I think one thing that needs to be done is these groups need to follow up and these task forces on a regular basis to see that we're implementing the recommendations as they expected and as they envisioned. I think we also have seen that Fresno Unified does work with community groups in areas like Reading and Beyond, Californians for Justice. I know I personally have met with these folks to help facilitate what needs to happen within the district to help the families that they are working with. I know we've also worked with the Fresno Art Museum, and I think it's also important to note that the mindset of myself and others on the board is that we want to involve the community groups, or we want to involve the parents. And we've also just recently signed apprenticeship agreements with 2 organizations to use their apprentice halls. So that is where we are developing those relationships and those connections.
Let me stay on the graduation dropout issue a little further. Some say that the problem is due to the lack of vocational training opportunities and that students don't all have interest in a college-based curriculum. So the question is, what should school board members be doing to move the district in the direction of either more career training or more specific steps to encourage students to stay in school? Andy, can we start with you?
Yeah, I mean, let's go back to what I think is a failing of Fresno Unified to reach out to these CBOs, and especially the business-oriented groups. It's always been striking to me that Edison High School sits at the doorstep of the birthplace of agribusiness in the world. It's right there down the street from Kearney, and yet Fresno Unified should have the best Future Farmers of America program in the state, and it's just lacking. It's non-existent, and that has always baffled me that the school district has not opened itself up to the ag industry that supports our community and our valley from one end to the other. It's really a travesty, as well as other industries. We need to teach our students the language of business so that when they go out to apply for a job, they're not totally lost in the job world.
Thank you. Carol?
Murray, could you repeat the focus
Sure.
of this question?
The question deals with the issue of dropouts and how some people say the problem is that we lack vocational training, career opportunities, that we're focused on college-based curriculum, and should there be some other steps taken? And what should school board members do specifically to move in that direction?
Well, I think if people have that perception in the Fresno High area, then they don't have all of the accurate information, because we have increased and added to the vocational education or the career technical education in the past few years in the Fresno High area. We have 8 different CTE pathways at Fort Miller. Those were just added and improved in the last few years. We have 5 currently at Fresno High. We are working on improving those this year and perhaps increasing them. We have worked, and I personally have worked with labor organizations that have apprentice halls in this Fresno community to build a relationship with the district and to enter into agreements with the district for apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship programs. So there has been a focus on it despite some misinformation out there.
Nicholas?
I believe the answer is yes. I think that of course we need that. Of course we need vocational schools. I don't think any one of us that sits up here right now feels that we shouldn't have more auto classes. That feels we shouldn't have other Future Farmers of America being stronger and doing more agricultural things in our schools. I mean that's just a given. Not every child is going to be going to college. That's just how it is. However, we need to be teaching our children that you need to stay in at least high school and go into trade schools, go into these other pathways where you could succeed in life, where you're going to be giving back to the community as opposed to be taking from it. But again, it goes back to our budget. I don't know any parent that would feel that they would rather give administrators more money than give it to the children and to have these curriculums. To have these curriculums, you have to have a budget for it. And without that budget, it's not going to happen. We need, as parents, need to be fighting to make this budget about our children.
As I said at the beginning, there are lots of challenges in their areas we didn't even get a chance to talk about. Preschool, English learners, but it is time to wrap up. And since we started with Carol, why don't we finish with Carol and start with you, Andy, giving us a 1-minute wrap-up.
Okay. Thanks for having us here today. This has been a nice event. As Carol likes to mention about how test scores are getting better, and that being true, the real statistical comparison is amongst schools of equal size of Fresno High. The state groups schools together that are like schools. 7 years ago, in 2005, Fresno High was in the group that was second from the bottom, and they were in the top 60% of that group. Since then, they are now in the bottom group and in the bottom 10% of that group. So they are in the bottom 10% of the bottom 10% of schools in California. And even though the test scores continue to go up and they lurch forward incrementally, other schools that are like Fresno High are passing us and leaving us in the dust, and it's time for us to address the issues for our kids and move forward.
Nicholas?
Our children are our future. It's plain and simple. If we want a future where there's intelligent individuals walking around, where they're giving back to our community, where they're giving instead of taking, we need to be investing in our schools. And it starts with the budget. It starts with the budget. It starts with us saying that our children are the priorities, not our administrators, not our teachers, although I love them and they need to be, taken care of as well. But our children should be coming first and foremost. We need to be working to making sure that we give them everything that they need, that they will be able to succeed in a future that is changing every day. Our future is a technology-based future. As they're learning to write, in school at a young age, they should also be learning to type. I don't know how many professionals right now, do paperwork, more than they, are on a computer. I mean, it happens a little bit, but I know that in my field, we're on computers all day long, and we need to start investing in our children because that is our future.
Carol?
Families have a choice in this election. I make my decisions based on accurate data and on the facts, not on personalities or political divides. I'm very proud of the fact that I have a broad base of support from Republicans and Democrats and probably independents, and a large number of community groups. I'm also proud of the fact that I was the first in my family to go to college. My son is a Fresno Unified graduate, went through Fresno Unified from K through 12, and is currently in college. So I've navigated all those different pathways that our students and our families are facing, and I enjoy helping them navigate those paths themselves. I'm asking for the voters to support me so that I can continue making improvements in Fresno Unified and continue moving this district forward.
Well, our time is up, and on behalf of the League of Women Voters, I want to thank the candidates for sharing their views, and I want to thank Community Media Access Collaborative for providing its facilities. Now it's your turn to be a good citizen, and remember to vote on Tuesday, November 6th. If you have any questions about voting procedures, the County Clerk's Office will be glad to assist you. You can phone 559-600-8683 or email the clerk, and the number should be on the screen, clerk-elections@co.fresno.ca.us. So thank you, and remember to vote. Thank you. Don't want you to sit.